on a huge day for Tesla, the company going public. Why now?
Well, a number of reasons. We actually don't need the IPO proceeds for the Model S engineering production. A lot of people think we do, but that's actually taken care of with the DOE loan and with pre-existing investment.
This is the Model S, by the way,
this folks. Is Model S, right.
Rolling out in 2012.
Right. The reason for the IPO was actually to raise funds for parallel development of some additional variations on the Model S platform to give us a little bit of additional cushion in case the Model S takes longer than expected, and also to provide some small amount of liquidity for myself and others that are in the IPO. I'm only selling 5% of my holdings, and I don't intend to sell any more, to be clear.
Elon, what do you think Tesla will look like in 5 years? This company has changed so much just in the past few years.
Well, what I hope we're doing in 5 years is doing our mass market vehicle. And then that's really been the goal all along. From the beginning, my dream for Tesla has been to make mass market electric vehicles. And that's, we're about to do we've done step one of that with the Roadster, which is, the high price, low volume. Now we're moving to Model S, mid price, mid volume. And then hopefully in 5 years, maybe 6 years, we're also producing the mass market electric vehicle. That's the ultimate dream for me, for Tesla.
Looking at Tesla, this is a startup company. Like many startup companies, you lose money. The company has lost about $260 million since its inception. Yeah. You're going public. You want the public to invest in Tesla. What can you say to reassure investors that might have questions about the potential profitability here?
Well, we do often get that question. The thing that's important to bear in mind is that if Tesla just decided to be a sports car company and sell powertrains to other companies like to Daimler and to Toyota, we would be profitable. That's an important consideration. However, we're choosing not to do that. We're choosing instead to reinvest those profits and raise additional money to increase the production volume and produce the Model S, which is 30 times more production volume, maybe 40 times more production volume.
If you look over long periods of time, look over hundreds of years, and look at the average sort of life cycle of a new technology, what you find is that it's getting compressed and compressed and compressed. So the rate of change is getting faster and faster. Every decade that goes by, there are sort of more important discoveries per unit time than there were in the previous decade. And a lot of these discoveries tend to, have two uses. I mean, technologies tend to be agnostic with respect to whether they can be used for good or used for evil. And I think that over the next 50 years, we are going to face a lot of very tough decisions as a society in how we make sure that we are harnessing those technologies for good purposes. I think liberty, giving people the freedom to, as long as they're not hurting somebody else, do what they want, is super important. I think it's the core essence of the American dream. And I think at times we as a people get confused about it. I mean, I think one of the things that you see come up in various places, and people talk about it under different labels. Sometimes they talk about it as a lack of personal responsibility and other kinds of labels. But what it really is I think people should carefully reread the first part of the Declaration of Independence, because I think sometimes we as a society start to get confused and think that we have a right to happiness. But if you read the Declaration of Independence, it talks about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Nobody has a right to happiness. You should have a right to pursue it, and I think the core of that is liberty.
To me, marketing is about values. This is a very complicated world. It's a very noisy world. And we're not going to get a chance to get people to remember much about us. No company is. And so we have to be really clear on what we want them to know about us. Now, Apple, fortunately, is one of the half a dozen best brands in the whole world. Right up there with Nike, Disney, Coke, Sony. It is one of the greats of the greats, not just in this country, but all around the globe. And but even a great brand needs investment and caring if it's going to retain its relevance and vitality. And the Apple brand has clearly suffered from neglect in this area in the last few years. And we need to bring it back. The way to do that is not to talk about speeds and feeds. It's not to talk about MIPS and megahertz. It's not to talk about why we're better than Windows. The dairy industry tried for 20 years to convince you that milk was good for you. It's a lie, but they tried anyway. And the sales were going like this. And then they tried Got Milk, and the sales are going like this. Got Milk doesn't even talk about the product. Matter of fact, it focuses on the absence of the product. But the best example of all, and one of the greatest jobs of marketing the universe has ever seen is Nike. Remember, Nike sells a commodity. They sell shoes. And yet, when you think of Nike, you feel something different than a shoe company. In their ads, as you know, they don't ever talk about the product. They don't ever tell you about their air soles and why they're better than Reebok's air soles. What does Nike do in their advertising? They honor great athletes and they honor great athletics. That's who they are. That's what they are about. Apple spends a fortune on advertising. You'd never know it. You'd never know it. So when I got here, Apple just fired their agency. We were doing a competition with 23 agencies that, 4 years from now would have picked one. And we blew that up, and we hired Chiat, the ad agency that I was fortunate enough to work with years ago. We created some award-winning work, including the commercial voted the best ad ever made in 1984 by advertising professionals. And we started working about 8 weeks ago. And the question we asked was, our customers want to know who is Apple and what is it that we stand for? Where do we fit in this world? And what we're about isn't making boxes for people to get their jobs done, although we do that well. We do that better than almost anybody in some cases. But Apple's about something more than that. Apple, at the core, its core value, is that we believe that people with passion can change the world for the better. That's what we believe. And we've had the opportunity to work with people like that. We've had an opportunity to work with people like you, with software developers, with customers who have done it in some big and some small ways. And we believe that in this world, people can change it for the better. And that those people that are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones that actually do. And so what we're going to do in our first brand marketing campaign in several years is to get back to that core value. A lot of things have changed. The market's a totally different place than it was a decade ago. And Apple's totally different, and Apple's place in it is totally different. And believe me, the products and the distribution strategy and the manufacturing are totally different, and we understand that. But values and core values, those things shouldn't change. The things that Apple believed in at its core are the same things that Apple really stands for today. And so we wanted to find a way to communicate this. And what we have is something that I'm very moved by. It honors those people who have changed the world. Some of them are living, some of them are not. But the ones that aren't, as you'll see, you know that if they ever used a computer, it would have been a Mac. And the theme of the campaign is Think Different. It's the people, honoring the people who think different and who move this world forward. And it's It is what we are about. It touches the soul of this company. So I'm going to go ahead and roll it, and I hope that you feel the same way about it I do.